So today I'm going to show you my advanced trading haul, and I've recently done a simple trading haul on my channel as well. So this one by necessity is a more complicated build, but it does have a lot of features. So let's just go through them quickly. Indicator lights for your villagers. It's got an automatic call function. I press this, no problem opening the door. The minecart will set off. It'll go to my villager breeder and it'll bring back a villager, and it will drop that villager into the next available slot, which in our case is here. So we'll just wait for it to come back. Okay, and there's our villager dropped into his cell. I can give him a workstation. And as we know with librarians, they've never got what you want first time. So it also has automatic re-rolling. So rather than having to break that lectern to try and get a enchantment that you want, just flick the lever and you can re-roll it. And I can also automatically zombify him. And that's quite a quick process. There's a zombie that goes around in a minecart behind the villagers. So any second now he'll come back. There we go. And we have a zombie villager ready for curing. And when I cure him, he will give me permanent discounts on all of his trades. I've also got a emergency pull cord, which shuts the trapdoors on all of these villagers. And that's in case you accidentally leave a door open and a bunch of pillagers rush in. You can shut this down. So that's it. That's the trading hall. It's pretty cool. It's got lots of automation, and that's what we're going to build today. So before we start, just worth saying that if you're going to build this, make sure that you can play in hard mode. If you are playing in easy or normal mode, then villager zombification doesn't work very well. There's a 50% chance they will get killed by the zombie on normal mode, and 100% chance to get killed on easy mode. So you need to be in hard mode when you're zombifying villagers. So make sure that you're in a position to be able to do that, whether that's in your own private world or on a server. And this video took an absolute age to make, to design this trading hall and to produce a video. So if you do enjoy it, then please check out the other videos on my channel and have a think about dropping me a like, some comments, and ideally subscribe if you enjoy it that much.
Okay, so let's dive straight in.
Okay, so I've chosen a spot to build the trading hall. I've marked out some chunk borders, and if you don't know how to do this, I've got a video on my channel. I'll link it in the description down below. But I've marked out some chunk borders. Do we really need to chunk align a trading hall? Well, no, not really. But I do want to make sure that each villager and his workstation are in the same chunk, so that I don't have one loaded and the other not loaded at any time. So I am going to chunk align it just because it's easier and a bit safer. But yeah, so this is our spot. The cow seems to think it's a good spot to be. The other thing to be careful of is make sure that you're 100 blocks away from any other villager tech. I've got another version of my trading hall over there, but it's empty and I've taken all of the villager tech out. Over here, I've got my villager breeder, and I'm 100 blocks away from that. I don't want to be too far away because actually I'd like to ideally be within simulation distance, and in this case I am, so that's good. If you're on a lower simulation distance and less than 6 or less, then you won't be able to be 100 blocks away and within simulation distance, and you'll have to do something a little bit different later, but I'll explain that when we get to it in the video. For now, this is the perfect spot for me. Okay, so I'm going to go to, oh, I should mention I've put this little pillar here, concrete pillar, just to mark us which corner we're in so we don't get disoriented. And I'm going to start with this chunk corner here. And I'm going to dig out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blocks. And I'm going to come down 2 blocks. And I'm going to dig that out, it's a big pit, all the way up to the other end of my chunk. So 16 blocks across. So I'll get that done, and I will see you in a moment. Okay, so there's our pit dug out. It's 6 wide, it's 16 long, and it's 2 deep. And if you remember this pillar, so this block here was our chunk corner. I'm going to come down here, I'm going to go one away from that wall and one away from this wall, and I'm going to dig down 1 block here. Come back 1 and dig down 1, 2, 3 blocks, and then 1 block just here. On this right hand wall, place a torch, come round the other side, and on the second step down, place another torch just here. Then we're going to drop down this hole, and the reason we've got it here is actually so I can place an observer facing up just here. So that observer is facing upwards, it's powering down into this block with a torch, and you will probably have put a block down here to get out in survival mode. I'm going to place it there now, and another block on top of the torch. Okay, turn back round. This torch is exposed. Above here is where we're going to put our villager. So he's going to be standing on top of a normal piston. And here we're going to put a sticky piston, which is where his workstation will go. And then if I place a powered rail on top of the observer, you'll see that piston pulses up and down, which is exactly what we want. To the right of a sticky piston, dig down 1 block and place a repeater on 1 tick just here with some redstone dust behind it. Now, at the moment that redstone dust would power the rail, we don't want that. I'm going to put another repeater just here facing the other way. Okay, so now that makes the redstone dust into a line. It's not going to power this rail anymore. On top of this normal piston, place some string. So this is going to actually detect when a villager is in that cell, and the observer will actually notice a string moving when it's got a mob inside it, and it'll send out a pulse. But we don't actually want a pulse, we want a constant signal. So we're going to have to use a T flip-flop to convert that pulse into a constant signal. I'm going to do that by breaking this block behind the observer, popping a stair down here, because the T flip-flop we're using is water-based, and this stair will hold the water in place and stop it from escaping anywhere. So for now, just place a temporary block above the stair. That allows us to come down here and place a dispenser facing downwards into that. Come just here, place a comparator, and that will detect what's happening inside that dispenser, and we're going to put a water bucket in there in a moment. But for now, we'll just put another block here, a block on top of that comparator, a block on top, in fact 2 blocks on top of the observer here, and we're going to complete this staircase by putting another block just here. Put dust on the bottom 2 stairs, and we're going to put a torch on the top step up here, like so. So now, pointing into the side of a string, place a block, another block here, and 2 more on top. And that's going to be the wall of our cell, so that's going to keep the villager in place. And then we're going to use some trapdoors, so that keeps him in place to the side. Have I got trapdoors? I've lost my trapdoors. Let me grab some trapdoors. So I've got some trapdoors here, and I'm going to place a trapdoor on 2 blocks above the observer on the bottom of that block, like that, and on the top of this block. And the thing about villagers is, whilst we as a player can walk underneath that, villagers are a bit taller than us, so they will be in here, they'll be up about this height, and they won't be able to walk out. So even if there's no workstation here, they cannot get out. Okay, the last thing we're going to do for now is we're going to grab the water bucket. And I'm actually going to grab a few, because I'll need them for the other cells as well. And I'll just place a water bucket in there. So that water bucket will power this comparator to signal strength 2. So both of these will be lit, and therefore the torch will be off. But if we were to power that dispenser, say with a torch, like so, that sends the water out of the bucket, and now we only get signal strength 1. So this redstone dust is off and the torch is on. I'm just going to put it back how it was. Okay, so that is essentially what we're going to repeat 8 times along here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So the first thing we'll do is, if you remember, break block here, 1, 2, 3 down there, 1 there, and we're just going to carry on as I did before, building these cells. And I'm not going to make you watch all of that because they are all exactly the same. So I'll come back when that is done. Okay, so here are all my villager cells built. They're all identical. On both sides, I've put water into each of the dispensers, and I've built up the back. The only thing I've added, which I didn't show you earlier, is I've continued this line of blocks 2 up from the observer. I've run it all the way along, and actually this is where our rail line is going to sit. So we'll let's do the rails now actually. So what I need to do is I need to alternate activator rails and powered rails. So opposite this trapdoor, place an activator rail, and then it's going to be powered. So we'll just run our activator rails first every 2 blocks, like so, and then powered rails here. And this is where RTX gets a bit funny because hopefully that's recognizable as activated and powered rails. Okay. I also want to put torches onto each of these gaps here. So put a torch into every one of these gaps. And we're going to put a block on top of each of those. Just like that. On top of your rails, grab some glass. And we want to... The trick with these is to make sure that we push our villagers out into the right spot, which is going to be here. And I want to make sure that when they go over the activator rail, if the activator rail is powered, it'll push a mob out of a minecart. I want to make sure they don't drop out and fall onto the rail system itself. So I can help prevent that by putting a line of glass blocks above all of these rails here. Like this. That was a bit weird. Okay. And actually I want that too high. The top row of glass can, if you want, be solid blocks. The bottom row has to be glass because we don't want the mobs to suffocate when in a minecart. If they've got their head in glass, they are happy, able to breathe. So no problem there. And the next thing I want to do is take my solid blocks and put one on top of that trapdoor in a checkerboard pattern, one there, one on top of there, one there. I'm going to do that all the way along like this and over the end there. So hopefully now your build will look the same as mine. Right, so the next thing I want to do is I'm going to put the floor in, but before I do that, I'm going to just run a line of redstone dust down in front of all of these repeaters. So they'll all be powering this whole line of redstone dust. So I was just doing some testing towards the end of the build, and I noticed that this line of redstone dust up the middle here, when it's the furthest one away, the repeater furthest away, doesn't quite reach this repeater here. So it's not working properly. That's an easy fix. I'm just going to replace this bit of dust with a block, and that will now reach the end. And for my floor, I'm actually going to use 2 colors of concrete. You can use different blocks if you want. You could maybe use different types of wood or different types of stone if you prefer. But I want to make this really obvious because we're going to have levers in front of, on top of these concrete blocks. And I want to make sure that we know which lever operates which villager cell, and we don't get confused because we don't want to be accidentally zombifying the wrong villager. So they're going to go there, and then I can put some floor in here. I'm going to leave this bit open for the time being. And now if I grab some levers, which are, where are my levers? I had some levers, grab some levers. Like this. And I'm going to put levers on all of these blocks all the way along. And this first lever here, when I move it either way, it'll pulse this piston. That will re-roll the trades because the workstation of villager will move. He'll delink from it and relink, and that re-rolls the trades much faster than breaking the workstation, putting it back. And then this one will drop the villager down on this piston, and that puts him in range of our zombie. So put these levers all the way along, like that. And each of these should work absolutely fine. Okay. Right. So we're talking about pushing our mobs off onto these trapdoors, essentially. But that's no good if trapdoors are closed. So we need a way of opening trapdoors. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to use a tripwire. So I'm going to place string, and I'm shift clicking onto the trapdoors. I'm going to place string all the way along here, like that. And then here at the end, come up another block, and we're going to place a tripwire hook just there. Do the same at the other end. Come up another block like that, I think. Where is it? Yeah, there. And place a tripwire hook. So now you can see that's all joined on. And if I step onto here, I want that to open my trapdoors. So how do we make that work? Grab some dust and just run it all the way along here. Up to this last trapdoor. And I want another block on top of that one. And my redstone dust just there. And actually, I think I want this up here as well. So sorry, I just want that one higher as well with my redstone dust. So now this tripwire hook will activate that redstone line and open my trapdoors when I step into the string. So the other thing we do to make sure they fall in the right place is we're going to put solid blocks up here. So not above the trapdoors, but above the these other solid blocks. And again, this will make sure that they don't get out of the minecart into the wrong place. Like that, all the way along. And we're going to have to do some more stuff at the end, but we'll come to that in a moment. Right. Along here, I want a row of solid blocks as well. So above these upright torches. And on the other side, along the top, I want a row of solid blocks. And these will have torches on them. So above each villager cell, place a torch on this top row of blocks. So that's spaced out every two. Then we're going to run a line of redstone behind that. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, all the way along. Like so. And what that means is that when this torch is powered, this will be unpowered and it's going to light a redstone lamp. Also, when it's powered, it'll light a redstone lamp. So we're going to place those underneath each of these torches like this. And what I want is for these redstone lamps to come on when the cells are occupied. So you can see at the moment, if I walk in there, it's working the wrong way around. So what I need to do is I need to flip my T flip-flop to go the other way. And that's pretty easy to do. I'm just going to place a torch in between there, break it again, go along 2. So in between the next 2, go along 2, in between the next 2, and the 4th torch there. So now you'll see that all these lights are off. But when I go into the cell and I activate the string, that comes on. When I leave again, it goes off. Okay, so hopefully you're following along and we're making really good progress. Okay, so I just want to cover off something I didn't maybe explain very well, which is these activator rails. So when they're powered, they will dump a mob out of a minecart, and in our case, villagers. we want them to fall down onto this trapdoor. They'll activate the tripwire, open the trapdoor and fall down to their cell. This activator rail is powered by this torch, and this torch will go off if our T flip-flop is activated. So once we get a villager fall down into there, it'll turn off the torch, it'll deactivate the activator rail, and the villager next time will go along to the next one, which is lit, and fall into that cell. So that's essentially how we control which villagers go into which cells, make sure we don't get two going into the same cell. Let me just reset that. Okay, so to make this work properly, there's probably just a few more blocks that I need to put in the end. So I want a block here underneath the tripwire hook. I'm going to extend out this glass. So if I grab the glass, I'm going to extend that out here, and I'm going to put two more solid blocks on the end there. And on the other side, I'm going to do the same thing. So 1, 2 there, and 2 solid blocks here. Okay, so that should make sure that our villagers always go into the right place. And if you want a trading hall which just has 8 villagers, then actually we're close to being done. We still need to get our zombie in, but let's very quickly see how this would work. So I'm going to extend this out by 3 blocks, I think. And we're going to put powered rail there and there. And we're going to put just a lever on here turned on. But actually, we can put maybe a normal rail here and just power this rail here with a lever, or indeed with a button. Let me do it with a button, be easier. So let's come back to this end. Now on this end, one thing I've noticed is that to make sure villagers end up in the right place, I need 3 powered rails coming into the sort of rail line here. If I've got, if my cart's going too slowly, the villagers can still fall into the wrong place. I don't want that. So 3 powered rails there. We're going to come around this corner, and I'm just going to do this as a little demo, but a standard rail here, a powered rail here with a button on there, and another block above there just for the time being. Okay, so this rail also needs to be powered, so I'm going to put a lever there for the time being just to do that. There we go. And now if I grab a minecart and because this is just a test, get a villager spawn egg, pop my minecart on here, drop a villager into that, and press the button. We should see he falls into the first cell. Light comes on, the activator rail goes off, and this should all be ready for my next villager. So if that's connected up to your villager breeder, you'd have a button somewhere else where the minecart stops, and then once you've dealt with your villager, you've traded with him, you've re-rolled his trades, whatever you want to do, zombified him, press the button, and the minecart will go off to fetch the next villager. And the next villager will go into the next empty cell. And if you ever, lose a villager somehow, that doesn't matter. The system will still know that that cell is now empty, and your villager will go into the first cell. There we go. So yeah, so that's a really simple way of doing it. If you just want 8 villagers in your trading hall, we are going to have more than 8. We're going to have 16, and I'm going to build another of these facing the opposite way. And I'll do that mostly off camera, I think, because it's, again, exactly the same build. But then I'll show you how to connect up the rails to make that work properly. Okay, so what I've done is I've dug out another 2 deep pit. It's another 5 along from where we were before. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this time we're going to start at this corner. And what that means is our villager cells will be offset from each other. So it's going to be one opposite here. And I'm doing that because I want the right-hand lever to always be the zombification lever. I don't want to get confused. If I build them directly opposite, then the levers will be the other way around. So it'd be the left-hand lever to zombify. But so I'm going to do it this way. So we start again. 1, 1, 2, 3, 1. We do exactly the same as we did before. And we build a mirror image essentially, or actually rotated image. So 180 degrees rotated. Okay, so I finished the other side, and hopefully that's looking fairly familiar. It is, like I said, a rotation 180 degrees of the last one. So you'll see that the cells are offset from each other, and therefore this end comes out a little bit further, just as on this side, this end comes out a little bit further. Okay, so that's it. There is a lot of lever spam in here. These are all working. If you get to a point where you're happy with your villagers, you could of course take out the levers and then just replace them when you get a new villager that you've got to work with, and that'll make it look a lot neater inside the trading hall. Okay, so I've come back to our pillar, so we orient ourselves. Our next job is a bit of a tricky one. What we need to do is get a zombie on a rail line down here. And we've got a couple of choices. We could have either 2 zombies, one on either side. So one here, one over there. Or we could just have one zombie who goes around all the way along both sides and then comes back. So obviously that's going to be a little bit slower to zombify our villagers, but it does mean we only need to fetch one zombie. So actually that's the method I'm going to use, but I'll show you how to do the other one as well. It's probably simpler in a lot of ways. So the first thing we're going to do is this line of redstone down the middle, where I've left this opening in the floor. Anytime that I want to zombify a villager, I'll drop down this trapdoor, this piston. This line of redstone will light up, and I'm going to get it to light a repeater, which I'm going to place just here. Okay, and so this is how I'm going to set off my minecart as well. And we're going to dig down a little bit down here, because the place that I want my zombie to start going is along this track here. So what we're going to do is we're going to come around here with some redstone dust up to there, and here we're going to have a powered rail. So one powered rail just there. And that will then obviously be powered when I drop one of my villagers down. And when I don't have a villager drop down, it's unpowered, and my zombie will just sit here in his minecart. So grab a standard rail and place that next. They're a bit confusing, aren't they, in RTX? But hopefully you'll follow that. So this is a powered rail, this is a normal rail, and then we're going to run powered rail all the way along until we get to this last piston just here. Okay, now if you were going to do 2 zombies, what I recommend is you break out here 2 more blocks, so 2 blocks after a piston, put a normal rail here, a powered rail here, and just pop a torch down in the corner there to power this rail. So then that zombie will come to the end, turn around and come back. And because we're going to get our zombie to hold a diamond sword, then he only needs to hit a villager twice to zombify him. And this unpowered rail is important actually, because in my testing I found if this was powered as well, then what would happen is that the zombie would turn around, so he'd hit the villager on the way down, he'd turn around and come back, and he wouldn't reset in time to hit the villager again. So this slows down the minecart just enough for him to hit the villager twice in one run, and obviously that's going to be a lot more efficient. So yes, that's how you do it. You do the same, exactly the same on the other side, going the same way, and you can have 2 zombies like that. We do need to power this rail though, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Above the 8th powered rail, pop a torch down, and that'll power all of this. But because we want to do something a little bit different, I want to have my zombie going all the way around. and doing both sets of villagers. I'm going to take this out for now, and I'm going to drop the rail down here. And I'm going to put standard rail there and there. I'm going to come along this way, so I'm underground now. And I'm going to come all the way along till I get to my other run, which is here. Take out this block as well, and put standard rail there and there. Run powered rail all along the top here until you get to this last piston. Dig those out. A normal rail, a powered rail with a torch down here. So you recognise that from what I was saying before. Then count again from here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And above the 8th rail, pop a redstone torch. And you also want powered rail along the back here, joining all of those up. And this also needs to be powered, so I just dig a hole in the wall and stick another redstone torch just there to power all of that. So that should be our rail system in place. We want to make sure that our zombies don't die. I mean, actually, this has got cover on it, but I'm going to put a grass block there, and I'm going to put a solid block above here. So what I don't want is my zombie to suffocate. So I'm going to place it just above there next to this observer. Okay. Do the other side, same thing. So actually I've got them there already, so that's fine. And come back over here. We're going to put a block here. And I'm going to leave a gap there, but all of this stuff can get filled in now. So let's put some grass there. Pop grass all along the top there and in these two spots as well. This is where I'm going to get my zombie into here. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to get 2 bits of normal rail, a powered rail, and a block with a button on it. And when I stick a minecart down here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tempt a zombie into here, and then we'll push him into this hole. So it can't be any old zombie. It needs to be a zombie who can pick up items, and you've got a better chance if you're in hard mode of that. So make sure you're in hard mode before you go off zombie hunting. And you want to give him a diamond sword. So it doesn't matter if a diamond sword is running out of, is about to break. It won't break when the zombie's wielding it. So that's absolutely fine. You can give him an old diamond sword of any kind. Don't bother with enchantments or anything, won't make any difference. So I probably going to go off and try and find myself a zombie. I'll go into survival mode. I'll don some armor, and I'm going to try and bring a zombie back here carrying a diamond sword. Okay, so I've managed to find a zombie who will pick up my diamond sword through Tim, and he is now following me around. So I'm leading him back to where we put that minecart. He's been a good little zombie, following nicely. And bring him around here. Come on, zombie. And he goes in the minecart. We press the button. He drops down the hole. And you can see that he's a little bit higher up than we want him. But if I just set him off on his way, then he'll drop down. He'll end up going all the way around here, all the way back, and we should see him here. There we go. That's just where we want him. So if I grab some more of my blocks, I can just block this off at the top. Now I'm going to go back into daytime and creative mode, and we'll carry on from there. Okay, so I'm back blinking in the sunlight, and our zombies down here, and I'm just going to break these now because I don't need those anymore. Hopefully he can't get to you. If you find that he does manage to hit through his corner, you should add another block here, and that will protect you. So I can close this floor up now because I don't need anything underneath there anymore. There we go. And the other important thing we haven't done yet is we haven't placed a bed at all in our trading hall. And I want to have just one bed in the whole trading hall. Okay, that will handle up to 32 villagers. You don't want to have more than one bed, because what can happen is that it can cause more delinking and the villagers get a bit confused about where things are. So just have one bed in a trading hall. Make sure that no villagers can actually get to it, sleep in it. You don't want anyone to sleep in it. It just has to be there to create a village. So I'm going to put it down here because that's inside my chunk. And it's close enough for the villagers to be able to link to it, but not close enough for anyone to actually go to sleep in there. And then the last thing I want to do is we just need to do a bit of tidying up at the back here, I think. So we've got this open space, and I'm just going to close it off and do that all the way around on all of these. And that will make sure that nothing can get in to there. So on this side, all the way around, and there we go. That's it. So the next thing we have to do is just look at how we hook up the rail line to our villager breeder. And we've seen one example if we just had one side of this, but I'll show you how to connect it up to optimize it for 16 villagers. So I'm over at my villager breeder. The villagers get bred up there, they drop down, they are collected into this area here. So then I've set this to this rail line to be always on. So when a minecart arrives, it'll pick up a villager, it'll turn around, and it'll go back down this way, and we'll shoot along, and I'll show you where this goes, because I've now built it up just up this slope here and along here. I've now built it up so that it ends at our new trading hall. And what I need to do is I need to join this rail line up to up here. So actually we built this for testing earlier. I don't need that anymore. And I'm going to build up my rail line like this. So using powered rails up here. And then I would want a normal rail here. We'll come back to that. By the way, I put a torch in the wall here, which is just to power this. And then here I've got my activator rail, 1, 2, 3 powered rails. Here I'm going to put a detector rail, and I'm going to run a line of blocks along across the front here to join up with this rail over there. So there's my activator rail, 1, 2, 3 powered rails, a normal rail, powered rails along here, and a detector rail here. Now, I know I need a detector rail. You might not. It kind of depends on what happens when you place your rail here. So for me, it joins on this way. And what that means is when a minecart goes along there and tries to come back, it'll go up there, which is no good at all. What will happen by detector rail is when the minecart arrives here, it'll go, it'll change direction of this rail and it'll go straight back to my breeder. And the same thing will happen on this side. Okay, so depending on which way the rails connect, you may or may not need this. And it also makes a difference to the next piece as well. So what I want to do is, actually I'm going to add a block up here and just there. And I'm going to put a torch on this one because that will power these rails. I need a lever down here which will power these rails. That's good. And these rails here need to be powered as well. And can I do it? Yeah, I can just put a torch on there, I think, to do that. I've also just noticed, and the eagle-eyed ones you might have seen this already, but I missed placing some blocks on the glass in between the lamps here. And that's really important to make sure the villagers end up in the right place. So we want them to be in that little hole here, which is above the trapdoor, and not standing on any of these spaces. Okay, so if you haven't got those already, stick them in. You probably did a much better job building it than I did, in which case you'll already have them. Okay, Right, so what's good about this is my minecart will come up here. It'll go straight on, which is where I want it to go. I want it to fill up these cells first. So my rail is pointing in the right direction for that. If I were to have a torch under here, then it changes the direction. So what I need to do is to power and unpower that torch when these cells get full. Now I can tell when they're all full because these torches would all be out. So they're all controlled by the T flip-flop. So I'm going to put a line of blocks along here, right up to the end. I'm also going to put a block there and a block there, for the same reason we talked about before, just make sure they end up in the right place. And I'm going to put redstone dust on top of that. And you can see at the moment that's joining up with this dust at the top. I don't want that. So I'll put a line of solid blocks on top there. That breaks that connection and it runs all the way along. Now, I know that what I need is a repeater here. I think that torch is going to have to move actually. A solid block there. And I'm going to run some redstone dust underneath it. And that means that torch can't be there. Let's put it just here instead. That'll be perfectly good. Okay. So this repeater powers this block, powers this redstone. I'm going to bring it down in a little staircase like this, and I'm going to run it round into that torch. So now the torch is out. That sends my rail the right way. It'll come up, my cart will go along there. When it comes back, it'll go over this detector rail, change the direction, and go back to the breeder. And when this is all full, all those torches will be out. This line will be unpowered. And my minecart will go the other way and start to fill up these cells here. And when it comes back, at the moment it's pointed the right way, but I could, for example, have sent the minecart that way and then killed a villager on this side, in which case we pointed the wrong way. So my detector rail makes sure that it redirects back towards the breeder. So like I say, you may or may not need the detector rail. If your rails are pointing the opposite way to mine, then this system won't work, but you can change it like this. Put a solid block here at the end of the redstone line and put a torch on top of that. So that just inverts the signal and it'll swap the direction of this rail. But I need to have the repeater and the block. Okay, back over this side. I don't need that button anymore, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a line of blocks along here, and I'm going to terminate this rail line here with a powered rail and a normal rail just there. Put redstone dust along the top of here, like that, and place a button on this middle block down here. So now when I press that button, it's going to light the redstone line, it's going to power these rails at the end, it's going to set the minecart off. So whichever one it's on, it'll set off back towards my breeder, down the slope, go off to the breeder, pick up a villager and come back with it. Okay, so this is how we're going to do our emergency lever. I'm going to put some couple of blocks there and a bit of redstone dust, a block down here, and I'm going to do the same on this side, a block there. So I'm just making them level, basically. I'm going to have a repeater here and here with a block behind that repeater. I'm just going to run those along, so go behind the other repeater as well. And with some redstone dust on top of here, and then a lever on this middle block here. That will power this line of redstone dust, which will shut these trapdoors, which will keep my villagers nice and safe, except that it doesn't quite reach the end of this one. So I just need to put a repeater in here. That'll be fine. In fact, actually, I'm going to put it more near the middle. So I'll put it here, I think. That's not going to affect the tripwire at all. The tripwire will power this line from both ends anyway. So it'll power from this end going that way. It'll power from this end going that way. So the tripwire will still close all of the trapdoors. But if I get attacked by pillagers, I manage to somehow get into my trading hall, then I can just pull this lever to make all my villagers safe. Decorate it however you like, and I know most of you are probably much better at that stuff than I am, but this is what I did with mine. There we go. So I've got all of my villagers here now, and keep watching for some top tips on how to use it. Okay, so my tips for a trading hall. First of all, just a couple of reminders. Make sure you build this 100 blocks away from any other villager tech. Technically, it's 96 blocks away from between village centres, or 76 blocks if you're going horizontally. So if you did want to build a village breeder up in the air above your trading hall, that is possible. It's got to be 76 blocks away. Only ever have one bed in your trading hall. My testing shows that if you've got more than that, there is a higher risk that you'll end up with villagers delinking. Only work with one villager at a time. And what I mean by that is don't try and zombify 2 villagers at once. Always try to have traded with each new villager before you get the next new villager to lock in their trades. Just basically be sensible. Just make sure that you're only doing one thing at a time with one villager, and that'll dramatically reduce the risks of them delinking from their workstations. When you are getting a new villager in and you're going to trade with them for the first time, and you're going to re-roll for the good trades that you want, just make sure you've got the stuff you need to trade with them. It's the most frustrating thing if you turn up, you get your mending book from your librarian, and then you find out that actually you don't have anything to trade from. You forgot your paper, you forgot your books, and by the time you go off and come back, that trade's gone. Okay, so just be really careful about that. Make sure you've got all the stuff you need to trade. When you're curing your villagers, you might need to do it up to 5 times to get the maximum discounts. Those discounts are permanent though, so it's well worth doing. It's worth the investment, and I'd recommend just keeping an eye on them and making sure you cure them up to 5 times. You might not need that depending on which trades you want. The other villagers you'll find will give temporary discounts when you cure one of their friends. Those discounts are not permanent, so even though you see a discount, it'll be smaller than if you cure that villager himself, and it will go away after a time. Right, other thing, if you're in Java, you might have read about this. You go around killing your villagers in a trading hall. They all get really annoyed with you. They all give you like really bad prices. That doesn't happen in Bedrock. You can kill your villagers to your heart's consent. Don't worry about it. And finally, don't bother adding water to villagers' feet. It won't make any difference at all. If they are in a 1x1 space and they're kind of blocked in, then they can't path find. And that's what the water is actually designed to do. It's designed to stop their path finding. So by putting them in that 1x1 space, they can't path find anyway. The water is completely pointless. Don't do it. And the final thing, really important, is don't forget to check out your videos on channel. And I'd love to see you subscribe and see you back here to check out some of the other content that I produce. All right, for the time being though, thank you very much, and I'll see you next time.